first brilliant thing I'd like to talk about is Pavlova.
Okay.
How do you feel about Pavlova? I need to know what kind of sugar addict I'm talking to.
I like a Pavlova.
You like
I
one?
really do. I think it's very difficult to eat it during winter.
Oh,
I wouldn't say it feels very summery. It feels like
okay.
you've had a barbecue.
Sure.
And somebody pulls out a Pavlova.
Yeah.
And
Out of nowhere.
Yeah, it's sort of like my mother-in-law Wendy. She's got a decent Pavlova.
Someone who makes a Pavlova.
But Wendy makes a cracking Pavlova.
What's she putting on top? What fruit is she putting? What's her go-to?
Strawberries,
Yep.
berries. She's a very good cook. She can mix it all around.
It's a bit of summer berries vibe.
Bit of summer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Whereas my mum and myself very much eat and mess is the kind of the idiot's version of.
Yeah.
It's just get it together. It's similar to what they do with children.
Yeah.
Beat them.
Yeah.
And they come out all jumbled.
Yeah. Yeah.
But they're very similar, I would say.
What, the eat and mess and the Pavlova?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's the same ingredients.
Yeah.
But someone stirred it. Like that's it.
So what is so? I mean, I like it, and I'm
You like
a fan
it?
of
Okay.
it.
Yeah. Well, that's so. Pavlova traditionally often is a Christmas.
Is
thing.
that right?
Yeah, it can
Okay.
be. Although you do get your summer Pavlova, you're right, but it's often like an alternative Christmas
So
pudding.
what would be the difference for like your winter Pavlova?
Well, in the old days,
Just elves?
it'd be your fruit, wouldn't it? It's what type of fruit you're putting on it. But nowadays, you can get raspberries in December. You can do
can.
what you like.
Yeah.
No one can stop you.
So what would you have? But what would be the traditional winter fruits?
Well, do you know what? As I'm saying it, one of the best Pavlovas I've ever had in my life. So obviously, I make very good Pavlovas.
Of course, yeah.
Of course. Otherwise, why would I be bringing this up arrogantly?
But do you make them that well during half term? I doubt it.
No. Although I did make... What did we do? Oh, we did Halloween cakes. I like baking because I like sugar a lot.
Okay.
I used to smoke. I had to give up smoking. The general consensus was it wasn't great.
Find something else.
Yeah. And I found sugar.
Okay, yeah.
So that's what it became. I was always into it, and it became like, this is replacing smoking. So
Yeah.
I've got to invest in this. What do we need? How do we do this?
I love the fact you said you were always into it. Like it was sort of like Zumba or something like that.
I always went
always been into
sugaring.
sugar. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I've always me and sugar been
It's
friends.
always been adjacent to me, and now I realise that we're
But
firm
then
friends.
I quit smoking. We started hanging out a lot more, and I
Yeah.
thought we've actually got a lot in common. And the reason I'm saying it's Christmas, I think, is it might be an Australian Christmas thing.
Yes.
I think it's an Antipodean
It's
Christmas
a big
thing.
thing in Australia. On Australia Day, they all have Pavlova. So that's
They are very good.
So they go down the beach and they have Pavlova.
Right, yeah.
But recently, Australia now has sort of younger people have different feelings about Australia Day.
Yeah.
So they're like, I'm not having Pavlova. I'm
no,
just going to
Pavlova's-
sit. I'm going to sit and think about what my country's done. And then you get old people going, fuck those fucking liberals. I will go to the beach and I will eat my Pavlova.
What's sad for me is it's not Pavlova's fault, and it's
Pavlova
caught in the crossfire.
It's this sort of delicious cake in the middle of like a really complicated historical issue.
And I think it's right to question Australia Day.
But surely the bigger issue is, can you eat Pavlova in a solemn manner? Because that's the thing. If you're
No,
kind
you
of
can't. You
if
can't.
you're
It's joyful.
reflecting
Yeah,
on
yeah.
what Australia's done to
You need
to
a
the
fruit-
Aboriginal
yeah.
community, you can't go, oh, that's good. Although we did awful things, but fuck me,
You
some of
need
them.
something much stronger, a strong fruit cake.
Yeah.
That is much more like we're thinking about it as
Sort of
as we should if our imperialists, and that we can't separate Australians from us. This is our history of colonialism. So like we have to. I love the way English people go, that's them. No. That's us. But you can't eat it solemnly. So now I see maybe why it's been kicked off the menu.
Yeah.
That seems.
But let's
unfair.
move all that from this because one of the things is I think there's a rivalry not dissimilar to sort of like Devon and Cornwall
About the
as regards cream
jam.
and scones. There's a similar thing with New Zealand and Australia.
So there's a full unit into investigating this.
Wow.
Jointly headed up by an Australian and someone from New Zealand. What are they called? New Zealanders?
Yeah, New Zealanders. Well,
Okay.
can I be controversial and say the best pavlova I've ever had was in New Zealand?
Ooh.
Because I have New Zealand relatives, and
Kiwis,
yeah. And she's not my aunt, but we call her aunt because it's too confusing to explain how she is actually a cousin.
Mm-hmm.
And she made this, like, I've never seen meringue that high. Like, you had to, like, it took seconds to cut through it.
Okay, right, yeah.
How
And-
stiff were her peaks?
Her peaks were stiff. Her peaks were stiff in Lake Taupo. They went for kiwis
Lake Taupo,
on top of the kiwi.
Yeah, oh, I bet that's
Pavlova.
nice. Yeah.
And it was the first time in my life I was like, I felt like, when you go to America or something, you're like, oh, I didn't know. British people aren't doing this big enough. Like, our little Pavlova, this is enough for us.
Yeah.
And then I saw this thing and I was like, what is that?
Yeah.
She was like, oh, it's Pavlova. It's what we have at Christmas, because it's how my New Zealand relatives speak.
Very good.
Thank you very much. And
I can only do the Maori lads. That's the only one I can do, eh? So I can do those. But that isn't reflective of all of New Zealand.
No, definitely not.
So it's
Definitely
that thing.
not.
But it's that thing because I've spoke to quite a lot of them. But when you're trying to mimic someone else, it's a bit like doing a Geordie impression and you can only do Jimmy Nail.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's sort of just
crocodile shoe. Yeah, it's too specific. Yeah.
So
my New Zealand rallies made this incredible Pavlova.
Yeah.
It was incredible.
So what are you thinking about when you have that first bite of Pavlova? Where do you go?
Oh God, it's just
Colonialism.
Colonialism.
Yeah. Which
Look,
this is a joyful show. Let her have her cake and eat it.
I often do think about colonialism quite a lot.
Yeah.
But
when
no,
you're eating
not when
cakes.
Pavlova.
Yeah.
And I don't consider Pavlova a cake. I consider it like a pudding, a kind of a dessert.
Okay.
It's in its own section.
Yeah.
Because I would say you could have Pavlova, then you could have a slice of cake.
Oh, you could. Yeah,
Yeah,
sure.
because it's not cake. It's not like, oh, you want a sponge cake now? Do you want fruit cake? What the fuck? No.
Okay.
But Pavlova is a separate being. It's just the lightness
Yeah.
of the air. And then I'm someone who will add a bit of vanilla and a bit of sugar to the cream. So you make chantilly cream. And then I like, for a summer one, raspberries with passion fruit and a bit of chopped mint.
Oh, very nice.
Oh my God, my mouth is watering. And it's just the crunch of the Pavlova. And I'm someone who wants that. I want that really sticky, like airy middle, but then a good crunch. And that's why you must make Pavlova, because sometimes people say to you, I'm serious about this, brother. Yeah. They go, oh, I don't like meringue. And you go, what do you mean you don't like meringue? Oh, you've only eaten ready-made meringue. That is like, it's dry.
Oh, well, that's interesting.
It's cardboard.
Yeah.
That's like saying, oh, I don't like bread. I've only eaten my Vita. It's like, that's not bread. What are you doing? Where are you living? Yeah. You gotta have the experience of the actual airy egg white meringue situation that's just so light. And because it's so light, what I will do is I'll do a Pavlova for my family. Everyone has a slice. And I've never achieved getting it off the baking paper. It's stuck. Doesn't matter, it tastes good. Yeah. And then you leave it in the middle and then everyone's still talking. And what you can do is you get your teaspoon and you just keep eating.
Yeah.
And it doesn't look that bad. Yeah. Because it's not a cake where it's like,
it's funny though, isn't it?
Into a cake.
I don't mean you can just have that sort of sliver. You couldn't do that with other, like if there was like, just like a communal cigarette in the middle, you couldn't just grab it and just have a quick pop. But it is, I know what you mean. It's those desserts where you can just, and what you can do as well, if they're left, you can just scoop a little bit and nobody knows you've done the eating.
The amount of times I have scooped a little bit, like, we've left the table, people have gone away and they come back and they go, oh, what? Who's been? Oh,
the only problem with that is if it's too crunchy, and your house has got quite thin walls, and you just hear that. It's like, hey, what are you doing in there?
What are you doing? I can hear you. Well, my mum always comes in and goes, is there a blooming mouse here? And it's like, no, it's me. It's me nibbling it.
And are there any cakes that come close or desserts that come close?
Look, all cakes. I don't believe in a hierarchy of cake. I just really think Pavlova's, it's a big effort to make. So you don't make it that often. Like you said, it's like a barbecue or Christmas. Like I'm going to do a Pavlova. You wouldn't just like, oh, I'm just here with myself. I'm going to knock up a Pavlova.
Yeah.
So I think there's something about the ceremony of a Pavlova, or like the excitement of when you pull it out the oven and everyone being like, woo! And
do you make it with your kids?
Not with the egg whites yet. One day I make cakes with them.
Okay.
But with that egg white, you've got to separate the egg yolk. You can't get a single drop of egg yolk, otherwise it won't go. And you've got to get your peak stiff.
Do you use vinegar?
I do use vinegar and corn flour.
She's a pro.
Vinegar and corn flour.
Wow.
Actual vinegar you add. That's what's making it chewy.
Okay.
And the corn flour, you do like a tablespoon of vinegar, mixed with corn flour, mix it together.
It's proper like George's Marvellous Medicine, isn't it? Like,
it's magic.
I love all that stuff. I find it very interesting. I'm half decent as a sort of cook, but when people really get into the weeds with it and then talking about, it's a bit like when you're kind of doing poached eggs. Like everyone's got, you've got to swish the water and you've got to do that, you know what I mean? There's always like these little sort of tricks.
Like tricks that you learn along the way.
I would love to be earwigging with like top chefs when they're talking about like the way they make an omelette or like very basic stuff, because I bet you they've got all these sort of little techniques.
It sounds like you'd really enjoy Celebrity Bake Off.
Fuck off. What I do love is Saturday Kitchen. It's the greatest show.
Saturday Kitchen.
It's unbelievable, that TV show. It's incredible because you don't have to go through any of the misery. You basically just talk to chefs and they're happy to talk to people because they normally just they're out the back of
Yeah,
a
by
restaurant.
themselves, lonely.
And have you done the Bake Off?
No, never.
Do you watch the Bake Off?
I do watch the Bake Off, yeah.
And what does that elicit in you? Do you love it?
Well, I do, but I find, they're making very technical things, aren't they?
Right.
I'm here for the joy. I'm here for I want to just eat it straight away. And also, they go for big things that look amazing, don't
Right.
they? But
Yeah.
you're like, what does it taste? I mean, my stuff doesn't always look great.
Yeah.
Like if I was on it, I'd get a lot of comments about not visual presentation being bad. I'm slapdash.
But I think
it
that's
tastes great.
I don't think anyone gives a shit. Do you? It's like when you see,
shit.
when you see like a scone in like Gales or something, and it's all kind of, like the really bad guy in Lord of the Rings, and it's all kind of puffed out of his neck. Do you remember him?
Sauron?
No. They throw a stone at him and he moves. It's in the film.
Balrog?
It's not the Balrog. It's the. Do you know the one who he looks a bit like, hey, you guys.
I'm a Lord of the Rings fan here, so I'm annoyed that I don't know. Is he one of the goodies? Or one
It's
of the baddies?
in the film,
Yeah.
so I'm not sure they're in the books, but
One of the trolls?
he's one of the he's like a military leader of the trolls.
Oh.
He's a pinky.
Okay, I think I know who you mean.
Yeah, but they throw something
Yes,
at him and
yes,
he just
yeah.
moves.
Yes.
But the point is,
Yeah.
he looks like, when you see like a scone that's kind of all a bit like it's flopped everywhere.
Yeah.
But nobody looks at that big fat scone and goes, I'm not having that. I'll have the perfect small one.
Exactly, yeah,
You kind
yeah.
of want the big
Yeah.
kind of dripping scone.
Well,
Have you
because-
found him yet? Okay.
Because I
believe
like
it.
cake so much, sometimes people will take me places and they'll go, oh, you've got to see these cakes. And I can, in 10 seconds, deduce whether this is a shit cake shop or a good cake shop.
Okay.
I know instantly. If it looks amazing, you can see, it's too dry, it's made to look good, it's not going to taste good. And
Okay.
people will take me somewhere expecting me to be happy about it.
So who are these people?
Just friends, and
But
not anymore.
But they take you to look at cakes.
No, they'll be like, oh, you like cakes? We should go. There's this place in Soho. You'd like it. And then I look in the window and I go, I know those are going to be bad. I know they are.
Wow.
They look dry.
Very dangerous to take someone who's into something.
Yes, exactly. It's like someone who's into film and being like, hey, come and see, you know what you'd like? This new film. No one does that to people. They'd be like, no, he's into film. So, don't.
But it's a bit like mixtapes when you were younger.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And you sort of just look that person in the eyes and you like this bit? Shh, shh, shh.
You should never watch someone listen to the mixtape.
No.
It should be delivered and then left alone.
But do you do that with food?
No.
So you look away when the Pavlova...
No. I would be, because also I don't care really what you think as long as I've had some.
Okay.
As long as I've
That
had
would
some of
be
the cake.
a great title for a restaurant.
I don't care what you think, as long as I had some.
Yeah, exactly. It's just a chef with a bit of food.
Yeah.
Just coming up the chin.
So, if
that.
I'm eating the Pavlova and you go, as sometimes my family do, well, it's not your best, Cariad, or like that, I think, I don't care because I've got a tray full of Pavlova.
Yeah.
So I'm like, oh, is it not? Oh, we wish you'd done the chocolate tart. Yeah, I don't care.
Yeah.
I got Pavlova and I will eat the entire thing.
What? And you wouldn't say, well, you cooked nothing, did you?
No, because often they've cooked. I don't do anything savoury. I'm not incapable of savoury tastes. I just don't understand it.
That's interesting.
So I only do
like a
baking.
sausage roll wouldn't interest you, a Scotch egg?
No, I don't care.
Really? That's interesting.
Like if I had to follow that recipe, I'd be like, oh, whatever. But with the cake, I'm like 250, stir for 2 minutes, right? I'll do everything I'm told because at the end I'm getting cake. If at the end I'm getting a Scotch egg, I just go to Sainsbury's. It'd be all right.
You sound in no way like an addict.
Exactly. I replaced an addiction with one. And then do you remember they came out and they were like, oh, sugar's actually worse than heroin. I was like, do you know what? Fuck you. I just gave up nicotine. You can't then go.
And then it turns out nicotine's all right.
It's all right.
Yeah. Nicotine's
Don't worry
good.
about it.
If you can get rid of all the tar and all that, you chew nicotine, then you're fine. And then they said
Spit and
vapes were
tobacco.
fine. It turns out they're not.
Yeah. So I'm sticking with sugar.